I hope you're ready because today's video is going to be jam-packed with Easter and spring DIY and decor inspirations, so stay tuned. This is Whiskey and Whit. My name's Whitney, and on this channel I love to share DIYs and budget home decor, so if that sounds like something you would like to see more of, be sure to hit subscribe down below so you don't miss a future video. Also, a huge thank you to Green Chef for sponsoring today's video. We will talk more about them in a little bit. And also today's video is a collab with my friend Courtney over at Creative on the Cheap. She does a lot of similar content to me, DIYs, home decor, so if you love my stuff, you will absolutely love hers. So be sure to head over to her video after you get done here, and you'll get a ton more Easter and spring DIY inspiration. Up first are these simple but really fun felt carrots. To make these, you're gonna need some green felt as well as some orange felt and some jute twine. So I just had a scrap of orange felt. It is in a square shape. And then I'm gonna take some hot glue and fold the edges over, kind of like you're making an ice cream cone or a snow cone cup to make the bottom of your carrot. Once my cone was glued, I filled it with some polyfill, but you could use what you have on hand, like cotton balls. You only need a little bit. And then I'm taking a strip of dark green felt and just cutting some slits in it to make some fringe. Make sure you don't cut all the way to the top. And then I am rolling those to create my little tops for my carrots. Once those are glued, I'm adding a little bit of glue to my green piece, sticking it inside of my carrot. Trim any excess felt that you need off of that carrot, tying it with some jute twine, and voila. It is so easy to do, and these are so fun to throw into your decor. Number 2 is one of my favorite projects that I did last year, and it is this He Is Risen bead garland. So this started with a Dollar Tree unfinished wood cross from Crafter Square, and I stained it with some dark walnut stain. I added the words "He is risen" in this really pretty script font, which is a free download over on my blog if you want to use it. And then to finish it off, I just did a pattern of some wood beads, tied it on to my cross, and then I also created a tassel for the other end so that it would fit around my jugs that I have on my mantle. I just did that by wrapping the jute cord around my hand about 50 times, tying it to my bead strand, tying off the top for the head of the tassel, and then trimming the ends so it was fringed. I love this, and also if you don't have a Cricut or don't want any wording, you could just go without it, but this is so high-end looking, and it really gets to the true meaning of Easter for our family. Number 3 is a Kirkland's dupe. I saw these last year, and for a set of 4, it was $16. So I decided to grab some Dollar Tree shower curtain rings and make them myself for much cheaper. You're going to take your shower curtain ring and some jute twine, and using hot glue to get it started, then just start wrapping around the outside so that it is fully covered. Once you do the whole thing, I only used a little bit of hot glue as I went. You don't have to glue the whole time. And then they are covered like this, perfect to fit around your Easter napkins for Easter brunch. Then I just took a hobby knife and a scrap piece of foam board to create the ears for my little bunnies. And I just freehanded those to create a template. And then I just traced and cut those for the rest of my little napkin holders, and I needed 8 ears in total because I was doing 4 napkin rings. Then to have them match the jute twine that I put around the circles, I took a little bit of Mod Podge and some burlap. This came from Hobby Lobby, but you can use fabric or whatever you want. I trimmed the edges so it would look a little bit more frayed, and then I put Mod Podge directly on to the foam piece, stuck that down to the burlap, and then I repeated the same thing on the top part of my ears, stuck another piece down, and then trimmed around the outside, so then that way I had all of my ears covered in burlap. Once they were all trimmed, I added a little bit of glue around the outside and then framed those ears out with some jute twine so the white edge wasn't showing. And then your last step is to take some hot glue and hook it on to your napkin ring. These were so easy to put together, and they were well under $5, so much cheaper than the Kirkland's option. I have a whole video of Kirkland's dupes for Easter that I did last year, and I will be doing another one this year, so if you're interested in seeing how I take theirs and turn it into a more affordable DIY version, I will link that video for you. Number 4 is an oldie but a goodie, and every year when this comes back up, you guys love it. This is so old that I made it when I was pregnant with Finn, and he is going to be 2 this year, so it has been a little bit, but you just need a dowel needle. I can get these off Amazon or at your local craft store, and some of these Dollar Tree foam eggs. I remove the little ribbon that you would use to hook it onto an Easter tree, and then I take my needle and go directly through the center of the Easter egg. You can string it up as long or as short as you want in whatever pattern that you want, but then you can hook it up wherever you want and you've got a really pretty and festive Easter garland. If the glitter fallout is too much for you, just take it outside and take some either clear coat sealant or some hairspray, spray it on it, and that will seal in the glitter so that you don't have a glitter bomb all over your home. Another Easter dupe that I love that you could also definitely do as just regular decor is this Boxwood wreath. So I'm starting with a grapevine wreath from Dollar Tree, and I actually opted to use Walmart floral versus Dollar Tree floral. These are about $1 for these Boxwood picks, and they are a little bit better quality than Dollar Tree. So I'm just cutting them apart and I'm taking them piece by piece and tying them on with some jute twine so it matches the original look of the grapevine wreath that I got at Dollar Tree. You're just gonna wrap it around and tie it, and then work your way all the way around your wreath until you get everything tied on all around the circle. You can also use some floral wire if you want. I tried to use some floral tape and it was an epic fail, so I would recommend either the floral wire or the jute twine like I used. Then when you're done, you can stick any like rogue pieces down with some hot glue, and then you can just leave this as a Boxwood wreath, or you could do the Kirkland's dupe that I was going for and add some of these Dollar Tree carrots to the top. And then you've got a really fun Easter wreath that looks way more high-end than just a couple bucks. And overall with the price breakdown, they were selling theirs for $40 and I made mine for $12. This Easter egg bunny garland was a huge winner with you guys last year. I used these Dollar Tree eggs that they have every year. I took them out of the pack, popped them apart, and used a clamp to help me safely drill 2 holes in the top of either side of the bunny head so that I could string them up for a garland. You could also use a hot glue gun to melt through the plastic if you do that. I just don't have a glue gun that will do that, but I know a lot of people do. Then I strung it up and added a couple slits to a cardboard box so that I had kind of a makeshift little painting area to take it outside. And then I used both a granite as well as a kind of taupe color to cover all of my bunnies with spray paint so they were a more neutral color, and also I could cover up the face. Now, when I got them inside, that little tail looked a little bit like it should be censored, and so I decided to add just a little white pom-pom, also from Dollar Tree, to the end. I think it made it much cuter, and it didn't look as questionable to me, so there's that. Then this is the part where you can get really creative and have it match your decor. I like wood tones, so I did some wood beads, and then a bunny, some more wood beads, and then a white pom-pom that I had left over from another project. But you can do whatever you want here. You could do felt balls. There's a lot of different options, but this is so fun. It fits my neutral vibe in my guest bathroom so well, and it's not anything too clunky. It's not too heavy, but it adds just the right amount of, you can tell they're bunnies and it's Easter, but it's not too much. Now, I say this all the time, but I am not a painter, but these you could definitely do even if you're not a painter. So I love to have on hand every year for Easter these ceramic little DIY kits from Dollar Tree. They look a little different for 2022, but no worries, they still have them. I decided to paint one in a dark gray color and one white, and then I painted the inside of the ears as well as the tip of the nose with a light pink color, just with a detailed brush. It was super easy. And then to finish off both bunnies, I just went in with a black Sharpie because it was a lot easier than a paintbrush for me, and drew on a cute little face. If I'm having an issue with figuring out kind of how to draw faces or specific things, I just look on Pinterest and follow an image, and that helps me draw as well. Perfect for tiered trays, and you can also hang them up because they do come with a hanger. I just removed it. So I was just in the middle of crafting and the doorbell rang because my first Green Chef box has been delivered. Green Chef is a meal kit company. They're CCOF certified and they deliver clean, chef curated dinners right to your door, and you can cook them at home. They have options that can fit with my calorie deficit, and it's been a huge time suck lately figuring out what I need, going to the store, buying healthier options, and so I thought this would be a lifesaver. Their ingredients include fresh produce, premium proteins, and a variety of organic ingredients, and they come pre-measured
pre-measured and also grouped by dish, which make it really easy to store and then find what you need when it's time to cook. I really like that there's a wide variety of new dishes each week with their recipes because I get bored with food really easily, so it's nice to spice it up. My first meal kit experience ever was making these pork patties with piccata sauce, and while I would have never thought to make that on my own, it was amazing. It took me about 30 minutes start to finish, and the way that they wrote the instructions, it was easy to follow and everything finished about at the same time, so nothing was cold when it was plated. They even gave me instructions to plate them super pretty, and it tasted so good. Green Chef offers options for every lifestyle like keto and paleo, vegan, gluten-free, vegetarian, fast and fit, and Mediterranean. So I went with the fast and fit option because I track calories, but you can go to greenchef.com, see all recipes for all the different types, and that helped me to know that I was picking the right one for me. So if this sounds like something that would make your life easier as well as more delicious, be sure to check out greenchef.com and use the code WhiskeyWhit130 for $130 off and free shipping on your first box. Now let's get back into the DIYs.
So you know what would have went really good with those meals was a nice glass of wine. So I'm going to show you how to transform this Dollar Tree stemless wine glass into a really fun Easter glass. So this is a file that I designed. It says chillin' with my peeps with a little peeps image, and you can find this over on my blog. Cut it out, weed it as a stencil, so we're just weeding out the inside, and then I'm going to use transfer tape to apply it to my glass. Now, because it's a curved shape all around, I'm cutting some slits within the vinyl, so then that way I can apply it with the least amount of bubbles, and I'm just using scrap permanent vinyl here. So you could probably use the Dollar Tree vinyl. I have not personally tried it, but you probably could do that. So then once everything is pressed down to my liking, I'm going to peel off that transfer tape, and then I just want to make sure that the edges of my stencil are pressed down. Before I'm going to etch, I'm going to add some painter's tape just because in case I don't paint inside the lines perfectly, I'm not going to get etching cream anywhere else. Then I put on my gloves, especially if you're new to etching cream, I would suggest putting on gloves. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't, but here I did. And I'm using this etching paste to permanently put my design onto this glass. So you want to put on a decent coating like I'm doing here. And then after it dried for 10 minutes, I scraped off the excess and removed the vinyl decal. You can rinse it first or you can remove the decal first. It's personal preference. If you've been watching for a while, you've seen me do it either way. Then I'm taking some hot water, removing the rest of that etching cream, which essentially etching is just the paste eating into the surface level of the glass. It doesn't do anything to the quality of your glass. It's just going to permanently leave that design there. And you've got a really fun custom wine glass that was only $1/ now $1.25. Another Kirkland's dupe for you here is this cute little hop sign. They were selling it for $12.99 and I decided to DIY a little bit larger of a version for my house. So I started with this spaced out sign, and this was from last year, so 2021. If you cannot find the sign, you're going to just do the foam board cutting that I'm going to show you for the O as well. So just cut a little half circle into your foam board. So to prep my sign, I removed the design on the front that said spaced out, and then I'm using a scrap piece of foam board to cut out my letters to spell out hop. So I'm going to use that sign as a guide and use a scrap piece of foam board as well as a level and a pencil to draw out the size of an H and a P that I want out of the foam board. I also used the edge of my sign to get a pretty curvature for the P, and then also the lines would kind of match so it looked like a similar font. Once my pieces were all drawn out, then I used my hobby knife to cut out the letters as well as 2 ears similar to those napkin rings we did before. I drew one and then I traced it so that they would match. So then I'm going to take some burlap and cover the ears just like I covered the ears for my napkin rings. Same thought process. So I put some burlap on the front and the back of the ears with Mod Podge and then trimmed the edges. I painted my sign white so it looked like a little bunny. I distressed it a little bit just to kind of get a not so perfect finish there. And then I added both of my ears to the top of my circle to make a cute little bunny. And then I also finished it off with a pom-pom on the tail. Now, if you don't know how to make a pom-pom, this original video has a tutorial explaining how to make a pom-pom, so I will link that if you need that info. You could also add a Dollar Tree like pre-made pom-pom. And then I decided to cover my letters in some fabric. So this fabric is from Walmart. I just used some Mod Podge, cut the piece of fabric to size, and then I covered it, put on my fabric, and then flipped it over to the back and cut some little slits in the fabric so that I could kind of wrap it like a present around the back of my sign. While my letters were drying, I grabbed 2 little paint stir sticks that I had from a previous project that were stained. I glued them together so it would be big enough to hold all of my letters, and then I used hot glue on the bottom of my bunny as well as the H and the P to get them to stand up on my sign. They were a little flimsy, so I added a couple little dowel rods that I cut down to size. These are also from Dollar Tree, just so that it helped it stand up. I was gonna put this against a wall, so I wasn't worried about what the back looked like, but I did want to make sure it was sturdy. And once that was done, I was ready to put it wherever in my house I wanted it. I thought this was so cute. It was bigger than the Kirkland's version, but a lot of the items I already had on hand, so it was a very affordable project to me. And I love this little bunny. How cute is that? If you don't want to do the hop sign, you could also just do the bunny on its own. I also did that as a project. But here's the breakdown. Theirs was $12.99, and I made a bigger version for $7. One of my favorite things about my Cricut is being able to customize some family signs, so I decided to do a little bunny patch here. I grabbed an unfinished egg as well as some of these little bunny ornaments that they have every year at Dollar Tree, and I stained the egg in dark walnut to start. I let that dry, and while it was doing that, I painted 3 little bunnies a gray color. Now you could do a pastel here. You could also stain the bunnies if you want to do that. You could paint the egg. You could get really creative. But I used the font. It's free. It's called Gitsy, I believe is how you pronounce it. And I typed out all 3 of our names just in design space, Alex, Whitney, and Finn. I added some cute little pom-pom tails to the bunnies. And when I was painting, I did 2 facing one way and 1 facing the other to give it a little bit of contrast. And then to finish it off, I cut out this sign, which is a free download over on my blog. It says Shake Your Cottontail Family Farm. I thought that was cute with a little truck. I added that to the top of my sign and it was ready to go. This looks really cute on top of that carrot wreath that I shared earlier in the video. And it's really fun to have, you know, our little patch. I've done it with pumpkins and things like that, and it's so cute. Now, if you are a neutral Easter decorator, this project is for you. It is completely customizable to whatever fabric that you have. I started with one of these bunny tinsel heads that they sell every year, and I decided to remove all the stuff to just leave that plastic piece on the inside. If you can't find one of these, you could also cut out a similar shape in foam board and cover that with fabric as well. Now I'm using a buffalo check, shocker here. I'm just trimming the fabric down and then cutting some slits so I can wrap it around tight around the outside of the frame. The goal here is to just pull it tight enough that when you flip it over, you can see the outline of the bunny. Once that was done, to finish it off, I cut some pieces of burlap to put inside of the ears, and I also tied a burlap bow to go onto the bunny just to kind of spice it up a little bit so it wasn't just the buffalo check. I think the texture of the burlap helps out a lot. The burlap bow is Dollar Tree burlap, and then the inside of the ears is a large roll from Hobby Lobby. Now you can add a hanger to the back if you want to hang it up, or you can just do it as a shelf leaner, but this is really cute and it goes with my buffalo check decor really well. Another way that you can make some DIY carrot decor for Easter is using wood beads and some dye. So here I've got a pack of different sizes of beads, and I'm using some jute twine as well as some tape to create a little needle to help me kind of string everything up, just so then that way you don't have to fight with the jute twine. It makes the end firmer like a needle and you can string stuff up really easily. Then I am taking 5 different sizes of beads. I just got a multi-pack from Michael's. I will link it down below. And starting with the smallest to the largest, I strung them up, and you can see how they're starting to look like the shape of a carrot. After I strung everything up, I cut them into individual carrots and tied the ends so that they could then go into the dye and be turned orange. Now you could easily paint these, but I like to dye my beads because it gives you kind of a stained look and it's pretty quick. You can do them all at once. So I am putting some hot water as well as some Whit dye and Sunshine Orange is the color into this glass container, and then I just used some tape on my piece of jute twine so I didn't lose my pieces of carrots in the dye. I let them sit for 15 to 20 minutes, and then I flipped them over, did another 15 to 20 minutes, and you get a really nice deep pigment. When it was done, I just laid out a rag cloth as well as a paper towel, and I put them all on top of them after I gave them a quick rinse in the sink, and then I let them fully dry this way. And then to finish them off, I used some green jute twine that you can also get at Dollar Tree in the automotive section and created a tassel for the end. I also made some with just regular colored jute twine, so the orange and brown as well as the orange and green. These are another great tiered tray item. They're great for little vignettes to fill them out, and you could probably also do them as a garland as well. I haven't done that, but that's probably a good idea, and it may be coming this year now that I'm thinking as I'm editing this video. Another take on beads for Dollar Tree items are these pearls. Now, my Dollar Trees didn't have them for a while, but they are back at the store, which makes me happy. You want to make sure that you get the pearls with the holes in them. There are some without holes. The holes will make them into beads. So I just took some of these Dollar Tree bunnies, I stained them, and then I added the words Egg Hunt and Honey Bunny in the font Amatic. I will link the font down below as well as these words as a cut file. You can head over to my blog, and every cut file that's available in this video will be all in one folder over there for you. I also have a video down below if you need help downloading my files. It's really quick. It's a couple minutes and you'll be able to see how to do it. I strung up the beads just like you would any sort of bead garland, and then I added my little bunnies to one end. And then I also added a white yarn tassel to the other end. Keep it neutral, but with the bunny, it's definitely Easter. They're great on vases, great on tiered trays, and you can also just have them on their own, like next to a picture frame or things like that. You also don't have to put the words on them if you don't want. You can leave them blank, but that is just a different way to do it. This would also be a really cute way to put on an Easter basket or an Easter hostess gift with the name on the bunny. Number 14 is awesome because you can customize it however you want, and it is this really easy buffalo check jar. So I started with this ball mason jar. It came from Dollar Tree, but you can use any of their jars, and you're going to start by painting the jar white to give yourself a base. I'm using chalk paint so that I can distress it later on. Once the white is on there, you're going to want two different colors of purple. I'm using Petunia Purple and Lilac Mist, both from Apple Barrel. You're also going to want one of the little bunnies that we've been using throughout the video. So the first thing I'm going to do is take some pliers and remove the hanger from the top. One thing I did learn this year is that the hanger is now ceramic part of the bunny, so you'll just have to paint over that. I started by using E6000 to hook my bunny to the lid, and this is one of the times I learned that I'm not a fan of E6000, so I would suggest using Dollar Tree super glue instead. I decided to use my darker purple to paint both the outside rim of the lid as well as the top lid and the bunny. And my bunny started sliding because of the E6000, so again, you're going to want to use the Dollar Tree super glue, or even hot glue would be better. I just am not patient enough to let that dry. Then we're going to take 1-inch painter's tape and tape off some equally spaced vertical stripes onto our jar. I use a little piece as a spacer. Once those are up, we're going to take our lighter color purple and we're going to paint the stripes, let it dry, and then remove our painter's tape. Then we're going to do the same thing but horizontally. So you're going to need a horizontal stripe around your jar. For this one, I think I ended up doing 2 or 3 horizontal stripes. Then we're going to do the same process and paint it. Then we're going to take our vertical pieces of tape and put it back on so that we can use the darker color purple to paint on some squares. Once those squares are painted on, I just went ahead and distressed it with a little bit of sandpaper, and you can put your lid on and you are ready to go. You could do this in pink or blue, or you could do just traditional buffalo check. I absolutely love this, and I think I'm going to make more this year because it's been a little bit and they are so cute. One of my favorite finds for Easter are these fabric Easter baskets, and last year I customized them for 2021 for both Finn and my nephew Ben. So I grabbed a couple of these because they are fabric and they'll take the heat transfer vinyl, and then I cut out on some iron-on both Finn and Ben's name as well as Easter 2021. And then I just used my iron to press on that heat transfer vinyl to my little Easter basket. Now, if you're new to Cricut and want a more in-depth tutorial on heat transfer vinyl, I will link that for you down below and up in the iCard so you can check that out. But you can apply it easily with an iron. I did it on either ear. It's just a really nice way to elevate your Dollar Tree little bucket, especially because you don't use it for very long. Like, I wasn't going to try to spend like 15-20 bucks, but you can just pop in some books and some goodies, and it looks way more high-end than something you would think you would get at Dollar Tree. The garland train is coming back around again. You guys know I absolutely love garlands, and this one is so cute. This is made from those little clip-on bunny tails that you can get at Dollar Tree. And so I grabbed 4 or 5 of those, however many you want for your long garland. And then I started with some white felt, cutting some ear pieces. I cut enough for each bunny, and then also I decided to do some pink felt so I could do that on the inside of the ears. So some of them I'm just pinching the end here to get it to be a 3D look, and these are going to be the bunnies that are facing away from us. And then I'm going to do the same thing, but also cut out a small piece of pink felt to then do the ears that are facing away. I'm going to glue these onto my little bunny tails, so essentially the tail is becoming the entire body of the bunny. And then with the ears, you just want to make sure that they are facing the same direction. So here's the difference. We've got bunnies facing away with a little pom-pom that I added, and then the bunny facing you. Then to string them up, I did some wood beads as well as some pom-poms, and then I took my dowel needle to go directly through the center of the bunny tails. And this is why a long, sharp dowel needle is helpful for making garlands like this. Now, there is a clip on the back of the bunny tails, but in hindsight, I would still go with what I recommended. Use your dowel needle to go through the center of it. Then that way it will hang up and not fall off the garland. There's no way that it can fall off when it's hung up. This is a simple, very minimalistic Easter decoration, but the little pops of pink are super stinking cute, and I loved how this turned out for my mantle. All right, friends, we're at number 17, and if you've seen these long videos of mine before, I love for you to leave me an emoji so I know you're still with me. So let's do a carrot since we're on a carrot project. So for this one, you're going to need any jar from Dollar Tree or their cloches that they have now. This is one that they had last year. If I were to do it again this year, I would grab one of those cloches. I decided to paint the bottom white just because black didn't really go with my Easter vibe. So I painted it 2 coats and then distressed it so then the base would look rustic and some of that black could peek through. Then I'm taking just some scrap boxwood. You could use any greenery that you have just to cover the bottom so it looks a little bit more green and lush. And then I'm just taking some hot glue to stick it down so that it doesn't move on me. And then I'm adding some of these cute little Dollar Tree carrots. Now we know this year they have upgraded the carrots, so they are a 4-pack for $1.25 that are larger. So you're gonna wanna make sure you have a jar that will fit the new size of carrots if you're making it this year. I finished it off with some black and white buffalo check ribbon, and you've got this cute little cloche, terranium, whatever you wanna call it, of carrots that is great for filler on a tiered tray or on a shelf, really anywhere that you need a little Easter pizzazz. This reverse canvas is so cute and I absolutely love it. And the cool thing about it is so many of you learned with this project last year that you can use Cricut's infusible ink on canvas. So I got this file from Etsy of the little bunny, and I also grabbed a Dollar Tree canvas. And if you want a thicker border around your canvas, you can get them for cheap at Michael's. Five Below even has them. And then that way your frame, once you remove the canvas, will be larger. I started by taking a flathead screwdriver and removing the outside of my canvas, also getting rid of all those staples, and then pulling that out and putting that to the side. Once my canvas was ready, I took some dark walnut stain and stained my entire frame. Then I'm taking some Cricut infusible ink and I'm cutting it similar to how I cut heat transfer vinyl. You could also do this easily with black heat transfer vinyl as well. I just wanted to test and see if it would work on canvas. So your infusible ink cuts similar to the heat transfer vinyl. You're just going to want to make sure you follow those instructions. And then I ended up cutting that out as well as a little bow tie on some purple heat transfer vinyl so I could layer that on top. Then I weeded the infusible ink, and essentially, if you're not familiar, it's like a sublimation sheet that you then cut. So when we're going to apply this, it's going to sink into the fibers of the canvas versus being on top. Once that's all weeded and ready to go, we're going to trim the outside of our canvas piece that we put to the side, just so then that way it will fit. And then we are going to put our Easter bunny there. You can also use some heat resistant tape to make sure it doesn't move on you. And I'm going to press it for 40 seconds at 395 degrees. Now you want to make sure you go straight down onto it and straight up, because unlike heat transfer vinyl, you don't want to rub it because it will smear. Then I pressed on my cute little glasses at a lower temperature and then applied the canvas back to the wood with a staple gun. This thing is one of my absolute favorites. It's such a cute little bunny, and I think the infusible ink makes it look a little more high-end because it's in the fabric of the canvas. Let me know down in the comments, did you know that you can use infusible ink on canvas to do a reverse canvas? I didn't until I did this video. Number 19 is this quick and easy book stack. You're going to need 3 books. You can do hardcover or softcover. If you do softcover books, you're going to want to remove the outside like I did here. And then I'm using stamps, but you could also use a Cricut decal if you have a Cricut. So I'm going to take my 3 books and I'm going to add just a little dusting of some white chalk paint to the little spine there. So then that way it's going to be white versus the kind of taupey book color. If you want to leave the book cover, you can do that too. And then I added a little bit of paint to the top of the book just to make it look how I wanted. Then we're going to wrap it with some black and white buffalo check ribbon with some hot glue, and this is going to hold your book stack together. Once that is all stuck, I added some jute twine and tied that around for a little embellishment. And then I decided to put "He is risen" on there. So I'm starting at the left so I can justify the H, the I, and the R with my stamps that I got at Michael's. Same with the stamp pad with the ink. And then I work my way to the right, so then that way everything is justified. Once it's stamped, it's ready to go. You can do this with a wide variety of different sayings. You could do Easter bunny type sayings, but I like that this fits in and also infuses a little bit of the religious meaning of Easter, which is big for our family. And number 20 is one of my all-time favorites, and it is this Rae Dunn Easter egg garland. And I had a subscriber, Jules, actually tell me that she did this and put the names of her grandkids on it. Such a cute idea. It's so customizable, especially if you don't have Rae Dunn stuff or don't want that. So I started by taking a drill and popping a hole in these, I guess, plastic. I don't know what the material is, but they are dyeable fake eggs that Walmart has every year. And I'm doing a hole in the top and the bottom of all of these eggs so I can string them up. Once I have all my holes drilled, I'm just taking a needle and I'm stringing up some wood beads as well as the eggs onto the strand. Now you can stain the wood beads. I've done that. You can paint them. You can paint the eggs. You can dye the eggs. There are a ton of different options that you can do to customize this, especially because the eggs are made for crafts and for decorating. Now, once you have those all strung up, you can add tassels. You can just hang it as a garland. I decided to just cut out these words in a Rae Dunn inspired font like Easter, Bloom, and Spring. If you're interested in those cut files, I will link that video down below. You can head over there and grab those, but it's a quick and easy way to customize a strand or a garland for Easter, and I really do love the idea of the grandkids' names on there. I might have to do that for my grandma.
Thanks so much for watching. Be sure to head down to the comments to let me know what your favorite project was today. And I want to give a huge thank you to Green Chef for sponsoring today's video and supporting Whiskey and Wit. I absolutely loved the meals that they sent me. And if you are interested in that, be sure to go down, check out greenchef.com and use the code WhiskeyWit130 for $130 off plus free shipping on that first box. Up next for you is Courtney's video, so I will link it down below for you so you can go check that out. Check out her channel if you haven't done so already. You will not regret it. Her DIYs are so stinking cute, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye!